Can you beat Sodden Sanctuary using only a flintlock? This game houses several different pistols and several different types of ammo to fire them with. The Class 5 pistol scales S in dex with almost 100 damage per shot. This creepy looking thing here happens to deal poison. But the most interesting option to me is the Musketoon, scaling in both dex and wisdom, dealing holy damage. Therefore, I decided to attempt a run using pistol only, but with 0 points slotted into dex. At the same time, let's sell all of our rings to buy bullets for a little extra pizzazz. And with those rules in place, let's attempt a flintlock-only run in Sodden Sanctuary. I named my character Pew Pew for obvious reasons and select the Cleric class. This won't start us out with the Flintlock level 1, but it will move our skill points towards Wisdom. Then I choose the Amber Idol for my item, as I will need that later on in the run. Of course, we die to the boss here because we don't even have a weapon yet, and he's quite the heavy hitter. Our creed for this playthrough will be the Iron ones, largely due to them having electric bullets, but I also wanted to try out their healing items they offer. And since we can't shoot down anything yet, we skip the first section with a couple broken knees and join the Oath of Devara. Now, this does mean I can't join the previous creed again without a bit of finagling, but this one here lets you buy your first pistol from the blacksmith. But for that, I'm going to require a lot of gold coins, and to looting we go. I scoured the Vestering Banquet, Village of Smiles, and Watching Woods for anything you can think of. Armor sets, weapons, rings, charms, anything I can sell. Rings and charms in particular sell for loads of gold since most people would never even think of selling them. Important as I need both a pistol and bullets to go with it. I did happen to grab a gray pearl above the Mad Alchemist's sanctuary. Sadly, right after this I got a bit stuck. You see, the worst enemy in Sodden Sanctuary when you don't quite have a weapon yet is bats. They don't do much damage, but will follow you forever and poison you in only a few hits. Getting back out of the Watching Woods was a nightmare as they would not let me jump across. I unintentionally tortured myself here, not even thinking the place would be a problem. Eventually, I did manage to get out and bought Class 1 crossbows and pistols, using my important gray pearl to remove the dex point here since that's part of the rules. I also grabbed another heal and some more stamina. Then selling off all the rings and other loot, I bought a flintlock and 150 ammo. With my newfound power, I still managed to die to the Sodden Knight. Apparently my no dodge run left me a little rusty when it comes to avoiding damage. On the second attempt, he went down no problem. Pistols, of course, deal insane damage and let you stay put in the air while aiming. Useful for the lightning attacks, and I am already loving this weapon. Of course, we're a little low on damage for the Queen of Smiles, since you would typically move into more dex right about now, but it seems there's another aspect to consider here as well. Say you use blessed paper on your sword. Well, the pistol is not going to glow, but it will get that bonus damage. For this run, we don't get that benefit as we won't have any melee weapons equipped. I could throw one on and not use it, but there's a special sword that does count as a gun, and I'd like to save the bonus damage for that run if I can. So until we get a different pistol, it takes more than a few bullets to take these bosses down. Thankfully, guns have amazing stagger potential and can be used at a decent range. Not nearly as far out as bows can fire, but enough to matter, that's for sure. After nearly getting me with this spinny move, the queen takes a break and gets shot down. I grab 4 points in wisdom for later and take an extra heal as well. While I'm still in this region, I ran down to the tree here. Near it, an NPC resides who can forgive sins. For only 1,000 salt, you can force any sanctuary to absolve you of the sin of leaving their creed. Doing so allows me to rejoin the Iron ones and stick with them from now on. I buy 130 more bullets and find another gray pearl in the pumpkin patch. Remember, I can't level into certain skill points as dex covers a large part of the more ranger section in the skill tree. These gray pearls are, in a way, my only access to higher level pistols. We next face the Mad Alchemist, who really shouldn't be any trouble. It's not like we can instantly obliterate him, but I have recently learned to take my time. If you're patient enough, he creates openings for you that are more than safe. Run far away from the purple blades of death and fire as fast as possible when he summons slimes. I did die to poison after the fight as I forgot to equip potions to cure it, but with a quick run back we have class 2 pistols, 1 extra heal, and more wisdom upgrades. Right after the elevator, which brings you down to the Cyclops, we grab another gray pearl. Soon after reaching the false Jester, where something surprising happened. I had a lot of trouble with this spry fellow. This fast and nimble sword wielder has never really given me even the slightest bit of resistance in other runs. But there was a little something about my dodges that had me rolling into the Jester's attacks instead of past them. And now that I think about it, the difference could be in the no rings. Typically, I'd have on the Wrapped Link for 33% faster rolling speed and a slight reduction in the cost of stamina for rolling as well. And I guess that means more than I realized because things definitely felt off. I came really close to getting him, but with the beating I took, a do-over honestly wasn't even the worst thing in the world. For safe measure, I upgraded the flintlock 3 times and headed back for a rematch. Still not the prettiest thing in the world, however my damage was at least double what it was before, and delaying my dodges just a bit eventually got me through. Man, I also miss my ring that reduces the wounding effect. It's the start of the run, and we already see how crucial some of the rings can be in Sodden Sanctuary. We quickly grab the totem brand to swap gravity and sell all the goodies we find to buy a whole lot more bullets, plus 6 points in wisdom, which has me excited for when we actually deal that type of damage. Without any charms or rings to collect, we quickly make our way through the Castle of Storms to fight the dragon, and still no first try on this one since he got a bit jumpy on me. Regardless, the second attempt was, I dare say, miraculous. With some more experience in the game now, after about 2 challenge runs down, I actually have a solid strategy against the flying behemoth. His jump attacks are a bit wonky, but you can dodge past him avoiding damage most of the time. For everything else, you just jump and hold yourself in the air. With a pistol, we can shoot him whether he's on the ground or not, and heck yeah man, this was fantastic. One thing I do want to bring up is the Hardy Rolls are my healing items for the current creed. I can't say I'm a big fan really. It's essentially a full instant heal. You can get healed through maybe 1 attack if it hits you as you take the thing, but that's about it. Definitely a solid option because you won't have a chance of dying while your health is slowly increasing, but I kinda got used to taking a heal and then being good for at least a few seconds. Souls games have us conditioned to pretty strict amounts of healing, and somehow I still got put off by this one. Whatever keeps you in the battle though, and with that, we gun down a dragon as he flees for his life. We grab the wall jump brand and increase wisdom by 6 points, which we will enjoy soon enough. Before entering the Dome of the Forgotten, we open up a chest just outside and equip what I will simply call the blue armor set. My reasoning for this is, 1, it looks cool, and 2, I don't really need another reason. Or more like I thought it would blend well when I made use of lightning bullets, since the Iron One's Creed sells those, although they're double the price of regular bullets. Let's just say I heavily regretted these, as basic bullets were better against all the regular enemies, and all but 2 bosses as well. Not sure if they scale with magic or something, but in my experience they really sucked. Outside the sanctuary here, we can jump up 2 platforms and defeat a winged creature of some sort. After farming him only 3 times, surprisingly, he dropped a Hornet Steel's Ashes. With that, my Amber Idol from the start, and 10,000 salt, we can transmute our current flintlock into the Lucent Musketoon. I unfortunately did not prepare well enough and can't quite use class 3 flintlocks yet, but after some minor salt farming and heading back into the Castle of Storms for another Grey Pearl, I finally have a pistol which gains damage from wisdom and deals holy damage, which most enemies seem really weak to. And thus, we have officially circumvented using the dex stat whatsoever. So let's test it out against the Untouched Inquisitor. Okay, maybe not the best test as I somewhat stink at this fight. The damage is good, it functions exactly like the other pistols, so no major change in gameplay, but I have to say for a weapon type we don't get elemental buffs for, this is really solid. I always feel like my winning fights with this bladed fanatic come down to pure luck. Ranged options do seem to be my favorite against him though, I will say that. 6 more points in wisdom and we are good to go. In the past, I've always had to skip the first lamb and come back with more damage. Something about this beaked monstrosity always gives me just enough trouble to move on. And this still wasn't a first try here, but with the gun making my run there extremely easy, 3 attempts was perfectly acceptable for me. Staying just out of reach lets me fire off damage and avoid all the melee attacks with ease. When lightning shows up, I rush in and back out to repeat. My only issue is later on he starts summoning lightning that tracks. He always seems to jump on top of me as I run from the bolts, managing to juggle me a few times when I slip out of position. Stagger helps out big time with a nice one near the end for the win. I grab the blue bar brand and increase wisdom some more before buying more ammo. The stuff is expensive, even though I should have plenty at this point. As we make our way through the red halls, just look at this monstrosity go. Certain bosses resistant to holy aren't necessarily a piece of cake, but the basic enemy types from here to there sure are. Boom, 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 and they're gone with no trouble whatsoever. I would highly recommend pistols in this game just because they make farming salt or materials unbelievably easy. And exploring is far simpler when you 2-shot anything near you. Finally, down in the underbelly, we attempt to topple the Tree of Men. The fire is still troublesome, as it always is, whittling down your health when it happens to catch you off guard. But wow, does this gun really topple the tree. Shoot down all the hanging men since you can hit them from virtually anywhere, and then do my eyes deceive me? Shooting the head takes him down in no time. Always gotta watch the lead finger though, as just one button press too many and you can't dodge an obvious attack. After my dagger only run fiasco in its 3rd phase, this is almost too easy. In and out, just the way it should be. 4 points in endurance because my dodge feels a bit clunky right now, and ooh, I can grab another heal from my creed leader real quick. Nice. In the cavern here, we do the usual stuff. Hunt down the cellar key and give a red lord's ear to the merchant so she sells upgrade materials. Just my luck, I came down here with no gold. While exploring around for loot to sell, I happened to stumble into the Kraekan Cyclops arena. I didn't even know you could get here from there. Guess we should take him down real quick. Which, real quick is a bit generous. Look at those holy bullets fly. I'm not quite over the bullet spam yet, getting me in trouble more than I'd like to admit. Still, he's obviously meant to fight earlier on, dealing almost no damage to me and looking a bit puny for such a big guy. Back at the merchant, I can purchase 3 frozen lockets, letting me upgrade the pistol to level 4. Turns out the one thing that gives a gun user trouble is another gun, as the Disemboweled Husk clearly modified his to be a little bit more powerful than my holy blaster. I've never really had many issues dodging his rain of bullets fire attack, but this time it was melting my health bar. Not to mention, if he happens to get gun happy, he really doesn't let up. It was here that the hardy rolls actually won me over. Not my favorite still, no, but in the right fights, they can be just what you need. Dodging the gunfire isn't too troublesome as long as you see it coming, but there was something I kept noticing that had me worried. I really need more stamina. My dodge is decent, I've got amazing damage and phenomenal range, but if I shoot more than twice, I might have trouble dodging attacks. For now, one shot off here and there gets the job done, but I will need to increase that staff for tougher battles for sure. I put the old pirate to rest. A bit disappointed that we can't wield the gun he has, but I guess I did take him out with mine, so probably still better anyway. Some more wisdom and 1 point in stamina to get us headed in the right direction. Mire of Stench? Psh, more like Mire of super easy clear out with a gun. Shoot a few spiders, shoot some stabby swordsmen, and shoot a Black Knight. Open up the shortcut and take on the Stench Most Foul, who managed to take me out with his minions because gosh darn it, my expensive electric bullets are such a waste. With regular bullets, we head back in and start blasting down some grotesque mouths. A noticeable feature of the flintlock is it doesn't seem to hit more than one target at a time. Visually, it looks to blast out in a spread that you might assume hits at least 2 targets. Well, you know what assuming does, because it only affects the first target you hit, making things trickier when your assault bat, 2 mouths, and a boss attack you at the same time. Luckily, our damage is still phenomenal, and with a very close call to poison, we don't have any issues actually hitting the boss. Just think, you can deal even more damage building into dex along with wisdom for this gun, and you can use melee buffs that apparently increase the gun's damage as well. Without either of those aspects, this is already solid enough for me, as we clean up this foul swamp for good. Further on, we grab the red ship brand to walk through red bars, increase stamina here, and take the boat across to the other side of the world. This random NPC here gave me a frozen tome when I talked to her. I don't remember seeing her before, and that's a really nice reward out of nowhere. I mean, it's the final upgrade for a lot of weapons, so whatever I did it right. While we're here, I always like to take out the Bloodless Prince using a drop-down skip used to access the elevator early. Without better rolling, it takes far too much to get past his fat legs and avoid the AoEs. For once, shock bullets actually felt like the better option, although not by much. But hey, I'm gonna take any excuse after wasting so much gold on that stuff. And I don't really have much else to say. It took me about 3 tries, and although the guy's literally the broadside of a barn, he's not the easiest target in the world. Dodging once through his feet sort of pushes you through, letting you shoot a few times, but man, the bow manages to be my favorite item against this giant. Guns don't quite have that infinite range advantage, even though the damage is definitely better. I may never be good at this fight, and to tell you the truth, I'm okay with that. As long as he gets put down, the process doesn't have to actually look nice. Of all the bosses to get to, the Dried King has to be my favorite. Defeat a mere 2 enemies in your path and jump up the ziggurat to face the Fiery Mage. For this entire run, I actually did save the blacksmith armor for extra fire defense, just in case, but never actually ended up using it. The Dragon, Tree of Men, and this Dried King are all 3 bosses I'd probably consider it for, but with more experience, none of them really seem that threatening anymore. The Dried King especially almost feels like a break in these runs. Yeah, fire's gonna get summoned under you, he slashes across one area, and you do need to pay attention. Yet I usually get some nice RNG here. The more times he summons Raise of Fire, the better, as you can sit in safe spots and fire off shots. Dodge through him as he raises his hands, and check out this sick jump and hold in the air I did here. No damage, and I didn't even do that on purpose. You gotta love it. Poor guy gets staggered so much I almost feel bad, and in the war of magic versus gun, I'll take a gun, thank you. We collect our dash brand and grab an extra heal at the sanctuary for a bigger safety net. Teleporting back to the Castle of Storms, jump across the air to Mal's floating castle. One of these days, I might remember to take the longer path up here. Defeating a mimic lets me grab a frozen reliquary, upgrading it to a level 5 pistol. And to my surprise, Murdiel and Mal managed to be one of, if not the hardest boss of this run. I don't know what it was, but I always managed to be out of heals and finally get caught off guard by some magic attack. I was having loads of trouble dodging these 5 projectiles that fly at you when you come within range. Later on, her melee strikes were knocking me off my feet just as I was about to attack. Shock bullets seemed to be a little bit better here, and, well, let's not even talk about this fight anymore. Nope, look away from this nonsense. It's somehow worse than no dodging or blocking with a shield. Weird run, I gotta tell you. Hey, at least the shock bullets look kinda cool. When they do something, that is. Well, what about Ronin Cran? Heading on down to the Golden Creed Sanctuary I somehow skipped before, we face the easiest boss in Sodden Sanctuary. Wait, does that say easiest? That must be a typo. Let me just, oh, okay, here we go. And there we face the most surprisingly difficult and rage-inducing boss in Sodden Sanctuary. Wait a minute, that can't be right. Ronin Cran hard? I gotta take another look at this footage. Let's see, knocked off my feet, swapped directions at the last second, flips over my head, which should never really hit anybody. Oh, and look, he bullies me here at the end. Yeah, I gotta face facts. Ronin Cran is officially the hardest boss in Sodden Sanctuary. Of course not, but I was surprised to see him take me down here. I've always first tried this guy, and all of a sudden, he was hitting me with everything. My holy damage is solid, and there's plenty of time to shoot him as he buffs up. Once again though, I have to blame that wrapped link ring that increases rolling speed. Unbelievable how used to that dodge feel I had become. Enough to make very readable attacks hard to dodge. Once you get back into the fight though and see the moves again, things click into place. But really? Died to Ronin Cran? I'm honestly ashamed of this one. And with that, we now upgrade into 47 wisdom, almost at 50, where we're going to max out our damage. And since we're in the area, why not go ghost busting? The Coveted typically stand as a significant obstacle for me. They don't take much damage, being weak to arcane that I really use, and they have magic that's tough to avoid. Be patient when the magic is going and just focus on dodging. Try and force them to shoot you from one side and then move under them to shoot the axe safely. Make sure to step away from the axe as they pick it up, and you should be good. I felt like the fire rate and overall feel of the flintlock perfectly countered the Coveted. You're always just within range to deal damage and can easily jump over magic if need be. Hey, I even managed to get one of the ghosts to quit altogether and hang there in the back. Made me get a bit sloppy for a sec, but with no magic bombarding me, they're as good as dead. First tried the Coveted. Now, that's a personal goal right there. Oh no, here comes the Witch of the Lake, who took me well over 50 tries last time. Haha, not today. No need to stress, as we could shoot her anywhere she decides to fly. Using the jump dash, it's almost too easy to avoid her magic. She got lucky a couple of times and held me there at the brink of death. Refusing to use her easily punished death ball attack was a bit of a jerk move, but fair enough. Of all the bosses in this game, the Witch has to be the most polarizing. Every run is different depending on your weapon, armor, and playstyle overall. Ranged options really shine for her, I feel like. They just take this one extra problem to worry about and remove it altogether. With incredible levels of confidence here at the end, the Dark Witch gets gunned down for a first try. Again, it seems like magic versus gun is getting a little too predictable at this point, don't you think? We throw the last few points into wisdom for 50 and go hunting for more gods to slay. Carsjaw the Cruel was largely uneventful. Move away from his underground blades, dodge 1 second after he holds his blade up, and keep pressing that fire button. Later on, he transitions into this triple downward poke that's pretty tough to dodge. I mean, spamming dodge is just enough to get you away from there, and that's only if you time it perfectly. Pull the trigger one too many times and it can't wiggle your way out of it. But he's also a massive target that's constantly moving into your line of fire. I tried to get greedy in the end, which is so easy to do, and was quickly humbled, only to do the same thing to him a few seconds later. Live by the sword, die by the gun. 2 more points in stamina because that's really the only thing holding me back right now. The Unskinned are a troublesome duo. The mage tends to get in front of the larger fellow, protecting him from shots and prolonging the fight. Both take amazing damage, and it's very easy to hit them, but as usual, the brute won't go down without knocking me around more times than I can count. Something about his head rush, where I'm either healing or just getting done shooting, it always manages to come out just in time for me to not dodge it. The arena is much larger than it seems, which you can use to pull the two away from each other, even if only for a few seconds. And once you get the brute in a good spot and you gun him down, the mage is as good as dead. No, I said as good as dead. Come on now, just go already. After the long and painful journey down this path, I was really hoping the Forgotten King would be a one and done. But of course, everything has to surpass my expectations or lowball them, as the trio turned out to be quite a nightmare. As usual, the King's gonna rush you with melee as the Knight stands around blocking your shots. The real problem this time was the Mage. He seemed to be summoning the tracking projectiles twice as often as usual. I was barely getting a single shot off before 30 light rays came barreling towards me. Not to mention, he was taking no damage at all. The other two were getting blasted, but it sure is tough to deal with them when I need to sprint across the arena so often. I always aim for the King first, with him being the most agile and weakest link, really. The Knight loves to block a lot, but it still isn't that hard to whittle him down. Yet like no other run before, the Mage was really sticking it to me. So many times did he fly right over my head and summon magic in the worst possible location. I think it took like 5 or 6 tries before I finally got the Mage in a 1v1. And then I had to no-hit it with 0 heals left and about half HP. In fact, I switched over to shock bullets of all things because it almost seemed like regular bullets were bouncing off of him. Then finally, after way too much back and forth, the freaking Mage went down. Not really sure what happened here, but it was quite possibly the weirdest boss encounter of this entire run. I'm done with mages for a while, let's just say that. How about 5 more points in stamina to give me some more leeway with my lead finger? Only 2 bosses left now, with the Kraken Dragon up next. On my way there, I happened to take a wrong turn in the alchemy area. This ended up being a stroke of good luck, as there are 3 frozen reliquaries down here. I actually had no idea where you were supposed to get more of these. That's very useful for future runs. With that, we can fully level our pistol to max for the optimal damage. Which, by the way, if you ever need to farm out salt, there's a nice spot just before the boat that takes you around the world. The slow knights here drop loads of salt and are super easy to take out. Best location I found yet that has you avoid some troublesome enemies. The Kraken Dragon did manage to get me once, as not having the lightning resistance ring is more than noticeable. Other than that though, he's really not that bad at all. Jump over the magic breath using the gun to hold midair and shoot the large target as much as you can. My brother tells me all the time how he hates this boss and struggles with him so much, which is funny in a way because so far he's been one of the easiest for me to deal with. That being said, I have used mostly ranged options so far, and that gets you out of his nastier AoEs, but interesting nonetheless. I'd say his Magic Blast is probably the toughest attack to dodge. Seems straightforward, but always manages to clip me just enough. Regardless, the gun has been serving me really well so far. Let's hope it could finish things off with a bang. The Nameless God is not an easy foe, no matter what kind of run you're doing. His magic attack in particular will obliterate your health in seconds, and it covers a wide part of the arena. I got trashed by it several times, and on occasion his grab attacks are too quick to see coming. But eventually, it all comes together. Shock bullets make their limited debut once again to give me an extra edge. Staying as far out as you can, just enough to shoot him, makes reading attacks way easier. Gives you an extra second to react against this flurry of sword attacks. For the magic, I stuck with jump dashing onto the wall twice and falling behind it. Then about 2 shots at a time leaves plenty of stamina to deal with whatever's coming your way. His reach is deceptively long. Even when you feel just outside his sword length, he can get you that far away. Not a quick battle by any means, but definitely the most worthy opponent in this game. In fact, after learning to jump over his teleporting sword, he has quickly become one of my favorite endgame bosses. Although I have yet to fight him with a proper melee build. And with yet another blast of holy blessed power, the island is free of false gods and safe once more. I can definitively say now that guns are the best in Sodden Sanctuary. They have the damage to break down everything even if you don't fully optimize your build. They've got the range to perfectly hit your target no matter who you face. And heck, it's a gun in a melee world. How could that not be awesome? So far, this weapon type made for my fastest run yet. Using no dex and no rings whatsoever, I still managed to finish in about 6 hours. And we can't forget, you could add on buffs on top of my damage as well. Loads of fun to use these and more than powerful in the right hands. Thanks for watching everyone, and I'll catch you next time.